Hi everyone, it's the Chief here from the AFL Switzerland podcast. I'm here with AFL Umpire and my umpiring mentor, Matt Stevic. Matt, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Great to be here.
Thank you very much. So the first question that we always like to ask our guests, and it's probably a bit of a difficult one because you're an umpire, is who do you follow? Do you still have a team, or are you allowed to say, or how does it work?
It's a really good question. It's a question you get asked all the time. And I mean, look, we don't get any strict instructions to say you cannot verbalise to the public or to the media who you followed as a kid. The reality is, once you've been umpiring or as you're rising through the ranks, you learn to really not follow a side anymore. That's hand on heart the truth. As a kid, I had a team, but as I said, there's no strict rules from the AFL to say that you can't say that, but we just get on and umpire the games of footy.
Okay, beautiful. And do you come from a footy background or a footy family background?
Yes, I mean, if you were born as you were you born in Melbourne?
I was.
So it was pretty much mandatory to have a side. My dad was Collingwood, my mum was Essendon. That created some friction in the household. But had a side. Loved the game, played the game, and really took up umpiring to earn a bit of pocket money. So that's sort of where I think my love of the game was already there, and then umpiring provided a unique perspective for me.
Yeah. So you're saying Dad was Collingwood, Mum was Essendon?
Yeah, and met somewhere in between.
So
who's that side? I don't know.
So where did you grow up then?
So I grew up in a small country town in Gippsland, not where all the bushfires are, which is East Gippsland, a couple of hours east of Leongatha, but small country town, a big sporting town. They love their footy and their netball and basketball, so that gave me a good grounding for getting interested in sport as a young kid.
Okay, and when did you take up umpiring?
So I took up, I think I was about 13. Mm-hmm. So I was off the back of a friend of mine. He had a son. He wanted to umpire, boundary umpire. It was quite a funny story. We were so small that we had to share one side of the boundary. So we couldn't do a whole game together. We could do a whole game, but we had to share half the ground. So I'll never forget umpiring out at Poo Wong, a place not far out of Leongatha. Borrowed my grandpa's socks to do the game, and it sort of started from there. I had a year in the boundary and then really developed a passion to do some field umpiring or give that a go. And from 14 to now age 40, here I am still field umpiring.
How many AFL games have you umpired, and how many AFL grand finals have you umpired?
So up to 380 AFL games.
Yes.
And so that includes a couple of the international Australia Island series games, which was a great experience, and done 7 grand finals. So, would not have ever...
That's a lot.
Dreamt. And, just so grateful and just incredibly lucky to, kind of experience that, last day in September, as Aussies like to say. It's a big event on the sporting calendar, and it's important to a lot of people, and such a buzz, but you've got a job to do, so it's a pretty stressful week leading into the game, that's for sure.
I could imagine. I've asked you this question before.
Need the chocolate. Calm me down.
You can be an honorary Swiss. I've asked you this question before, but just for everyone back home in Switzerland, what is the atmosphere like walking out onto the MCG on grand final day as an umpire?
Yeah, it's difficult to sort of really try and describe or put. It's overwhelming, but not in a bad. It's so big, And I just got back from New Zealand and driving. You could relate to this, as the Swiss people can, I'm sure. Driving to some of these mountains in New Zealand, and it's hard to describe just that wow factor, and the tingles you get walking out, sort of knowing that in this stadium around you, there's over 100,000 people, there's 5 million or 6 million people watching it on TV, and you're a tiny person out in the middle running around trying to facilitate and manage this game of footy, but To be honest, and I don't go to a lot of footy, but I get more nervous sitting in the stands, and so just that sense of feeling the crowd sort of around you, rather than being out on the ground. It's it is just another oval, but as you say, it's pretty unique in that there's 100,000 people also there watching you, and most of them are screaming at you. A lot of it for the negative, but yeah.
Well, what would be the most challenging aspect of being an AFL umpire, or if you can remember one of the most challenging moments of your career?
Yeah, it's a lot of people focus on the crowd or how far you run, but you really do learn and condition yourself to block that noise out. The biggest challenge for us, and it's probably relevant for all people in fairly stressful jobs where you need to make split-second decisions, and a lot of them across sort of 2.5 hours. That is our, well, certainly my biggest challenge, and I think it's a huge challenge for all umpires. That mental capacity to stay clear-minded, and we know we're going to make some mistakes along the way. The aim is to try and get truckloads right and very few wrong, but the mental application is to concentrate for 2 hours and process so many decisions so quickly, given the pace of the game. That's probably the hardest thing for us.
Wow, I can't imagine only ever umpiring at a local level and then going up to umpiring at AFL, as you were saying, the level of concentration and staying switched on and staying focused while you are getting the heckles from the crowd is amazing. Just moving on from that, something I've been asked when I was telling people that I'd be interviewing you today back home in Switzerland is, AFL umpires, is it a full-time job, or do a lot of umpires have work outside of AFL umpiring, or is it like full-time AFL players? Are you employed by the AFL full-time, or
cool. So it's a good question. And there's a lot of views on it as to whether it should or shouldn't be. We are employed by the AFL. We're not full-time. So most of us have another job or profession, and that varies. Some will work, 2 to 4 days during the football season. Some will still try and manage a 4.5-day week plus football. They might do a bit less during the footy, but a bit more post-season. We're a big believer in that. Being able to have another profession, develop your skills, be able to switch off that footy focus and mindset and put your energies into something else is actually really helpful and really refreshing for our mind and body to be able to do that. So, being a carpenter working 60 hours a week and doing footy probably wouldn't work. But to answer your question, yes, we still do other work, and we would say, and the AFL really support us on that it's a win-win outcome.
Okay.
And also it helps sort of post your footy career.
Yeah.
That the transition into other work life is much more smooth.
Definitely, I can imagine that.
Yeah.
You recently came over to Europe.
Yep.
I was lucky enough to umpire with you at a tournament, the Euro Champions in London.
Yep.
How did you find the level of footy and your experience overall in Europe?
Yeah, it was great fun. I remember landing the day before the champs. It was a bit rusty game one, I think. You helped me out a bit.
No.
No, look, it was, footy's brought me a whole lot of wonderful experiences. And so, the level of footy certainly wasn't AFL standard at all. But did I enjoy it? Absolutely, I did. It's a unique experience. You're meeting people from all over the world, from a whole range of different backgrounds, and both players and officials. So I'd like to think any opportunity we get is pretty unique, and it is what you make of it. So I loved the 4 days with you guys and the team of, what was there, 7 or 8 officials? And Brady and I. So yeah, good fun.
Fantastic. Now I've mentioned to you that going into our AFL Switzerland League this year, we have grown exponentially, and I'm desperate for umpires. And I know there's been a few people in Switzerland who have sort of toyed with the idea of doing some umpiring. What would you say to someone who is thinking about taking up umpiring, and why should they do it?
Yeah, look, it's any level of officiating in any sport, but certainly the AFL game is fantastic, and it draws a lot of people in, even if you're a spectator or, a neutral observer of the game. But it's great fun. It keeps you fit, and that doesn't mean you need to go silly and be ultra fit. But if you want to improve your fitness or whatever, you can do that. It's a bit of a focus, bit of training. Develop some wonderful relationships. You learn some really good skills that I've used in my profession, in my previous years as a school teacher. You're ultimately out there trying to manage 36 people, all pretty fired up, chasing an oval football. It's fun, and again, that social engagement is a really cool thing too. So, through your umpiring, you get to meet some wonderful people. So, there's a lot of positives to give it a go.
You're absolutely right with the wonderful people that you do get to meet. We have a fantastic team, as you saw in Europe, and that makes umpiring a lot more fun when you have a good team. And that's definitely what I'm trying to build in Switzerland. So if you are interested in learning how to umpire and officiating with me, please let me know. I'll be happy to take you under my wing. Now, the interesting part of the interview. As I said, we play a little quiz on our podcast. It's called the How Swaussie Are You?
Rightio, never been. Here we go.
It's a mixture of our two cultures, the Australian and the Swiss culture. So there'll be a series of 10 questions, both relating to Australia and Switzerland.
Okay.
And you can see how the other ones have also gone on the podcast. We'll see who's got the most answers correct. So the first question is about Switzerland. So on average, you may know this because you're a chocolate lover. On average, per year, how many kilograms of chocolate does a Swiss eat?
Oh, I'm pretty accurate in knowing how much I'd eat. It's truckloads. It's the one thing I love. Per person, how many kilos in a given year?
Yeah, on average, you can estimate.
65.
65. We do love chocolate in Switzerland, but not that much. About 10 to 12 kilograms.
Oh, come on, you
chocolate.
Swiss. That's not real chocolate love. Although you do produce the most chocolate in the world.
Correct.
And you also consume the most chocolate in the world. That is correct, isn't it?
That's correct.
There so do I get 2 points for that? Missed the first.
Maybe a half.
Okay, give me a half.
There you go. For Matt Stevic, we have to lift our game and eat more chocolate.
There you go.
Number 2, who has kicked the most goals in VFL AFL history?
Tony Lockett.
Perfect. On the board.
One of the greats of our game.
This is an easy one, and I'm going to get told off for giving you these easy ones. What colours are on the Swiss flag? Yeah, sure.
Red and white.
There you go. little hint. Number 4, which state in Australia is referred to as the Sunshine State?
Queensland.
Too easy. How many here we
Can
go.
I ask you one quick question?
Yeah, sure.
How many lakes are there in Switzerland?
Oh,
Now I'll give you. I'll be kind to you. Is it over 1,000? Is it less than 1,000? Or is it over 1,500? They're your 3 choices.
it's over 1,500, but less than 1,000. I would say under 1,500. I can't imagine it'd be 1,500. Is this a trick question?
No. There's over 1,500 lakes in Switzerland. There you go.
I've been schooled by my mentor.
Bit of research.
There you go.
I think that's right. I don't think I made that up.
Do you have a favourite lake? No,
No.
Okay, never been. That's right.
I just read encyclopedias. That's not true.
Okay. How many members of the Swiss Parliament make up the Federal Council, otherwise known as the Magic Formula?
Oh. It is the best place to live in the world. I did read that. Is that true? That is true.
I'm going to say yes.
Voted this year. 8.
Very close. 7. So there's 7 presidents that make up a federal council.
So that was a complete guess. That was an absolute complete guess.
You've done well. You've done well. Here's one that won't be a complete guess. Which club won 4 premierships in a row in 1927, 1928, 29 and 30?
It's Carlton or Collingwood? Collingwood.
Perfect.
There you go.
Perfect. You're not going to get any bad calls from Eddie Maguire later on when he sees this interview.
Who knows?
Okay, now you do read a lot of encyclopedias and you have shown your knowledge on Switzerland. Do you know where the FIFA headquarters is located in Switzerland?
Bern?
Well, close. It's down the road from Bern, in Zurich.
Zurich.
That's correct.
Okay.
What do Australians traditionally eat at the footy, usually made by 4 and 20? It's an easy one.
Very easy one. Meat pie.
That's correct.
With or without sauce? Are you a sauce?
Oh, go with sauce.
It's got to be with sauce.
Yeah, and yourself?
I'm with you on that.
Good
Absolutely.
man.
Can't eat a pie without sauce.
Did you read this in your encyclopedia? How many cantons make up Switzerland? So a canton is a state for us.
No idea.
Would you believe?
I do know it's surrounded by 4 countries, is that correct?
Yeah.
Or 5?
4?
Germany, France, Italy,
Yeah.
and Liechtenstein? Is that, or,
It's a principality, Liechtenstein.
right. So
And
I'm
then
sort
Austria.
of right.
Yeah. So 4 countries and 1 principality. Depends who you ask. It's pretty
Okay.
much part of
I've
Switzerland.
taken you off track. So
There you
what
go.
was my question?
So your question, how many cantons make up Switzerland?
12.
12. 26.
Wow.
Yeah, they're tiny.
Okay.
Absolutely tiny.
And has that always been the case?
No, throughout history there's been a lot of wars fought between the cantons, and some cantons have gone back to their own, say France or Italy, or they've joined or rejoined, or there's a lot of history over the last 1291, about 800 years.
Okay.
Wow. Hope no one's going to look this up on the dates. And the lucky last, which Australian animal will you find on the 20-cent coin?
The echidna. No, that's not right, is it? Platypus.
There you go, perfect.
What did I get?
No,
7 out of 10? That's not bad.
that's not bad. That's pretty good compared to the other ones who also took this quiz.
Okay. Now, I do have to say, I've got to, before we finish, I have to say that I did watch his previous podcast, and I did see some questions coming.
That's
So
why
I
I
thought-
changed them.
So I researched some interesting facts about Switzerland, and I thought, no, I knew you would change them, but I thought my history, I used to teach geography year 7, but very, very basic stuff. But I didn't know much about Switzerland at all, but the cheese, the potatoes, the chocolate, best place in the world. You're living in a great place, so
Thank you
I
so
sort
much.
of cheated a little bit, just a little bit.
That's
That's
right.
okay.
Well, you're forgiven.
I didn't want to embarrass myself in front of all the Swiss over there, but there you go.
Perfect. Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. It's very generous of you. We would love to have you in Switzerland. The invitation is open. Come over whenever you
Cool.
like. We'd love to have you part of AFL Switzerland, and hopefully when you have time and time permits at another AFL Europe tournament.
Cool. And thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your opportunity, and hopefully the game can keep growing or not so much grow, but just continue to get that spirit of kind of what we're used to over here, and that team culture and enjoyment in what is, or what we think is, one of the greatest games in the world to play and to be involved with. So good luck with everything, and I'll have to get over there.
Absolutely.
Eat some chocolate and kick the footy around.
I'll prepare the chocolate for you.
Beautiful.
Thanks so much.
Cheers.